Hi guys, welcome to our channel. My name is Sitabile Ndlovu and I'm a student at Africa University in the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy. So my colleagues and I were going to be discussing on the World Trade Organization and its efficacy in promoting equal trade in developing countries. So for starters, we want to know what the World Trade Organization is, what it does, and this is going to be given by Shingirai Masara.
So welcome to our discussion topic. So we're going to be discussing on the efficacy of the World Trade Organization in promoting equal trade in developing countries. So I'll be taking you on the background as well as looking at the functions of the World Trade Organization, and then highlighting in brief if the World Trade Organization has been successful or unsuccessful in promoting equal trade in developing countries. So today's discussion topic, we're going to discuss in great detail the World Trade Organization's ability to produce a desired result, because in definition, that's what the term efficacy means. So we're also going to be looking at the success or failure of the World Trade Organization in achieving and supporting equal trade in developing countries. So I'll define what the World Trade Organization is. So the World Trade Organization, in definition, is an intergovernmental organization there to regulate trade, which is the activity of buying and selling or exchanging goods and services between countries at the international level, right? So the World Trade Organization was created in 1994 in Morocco, and it is the successor of the GATT, which is the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, right? So the World Trade Organization and its efficacy, it operates under objectives and principles so as to fully help benefit developing countries, promote equal trade, right? So some of these include how the WTO helps developing countries benefit fully from the trading system through increasing transparency in the decision-making process. It is also based on certain principles, such as the principle of non-discrimination, the principle of reciprocity, and the principle of transparency, right? So, however, we're also going to critique the World Trade Organization and its efficacy in promoting equal trade in developing countries, because some have termed the WTO as exclusive rather than inclusive due to its increase in non-tariff barriers, such as anti-dumping measures allowed against developing countries. Rich countries are able to maintain high import duties and quotas in certain products, which we're going to hear as the discussion continues, such as in textiles and in agricultural products. So I'll leave the floor to my next.
Since we have heard about the background of what World Trade Organization is, what it does, when was it formed, we're going to move on its successes in promoting trade in developing countries. And this is going to be given by Karen and Victoria.
Greetings. Seated before you is Karen Chidamoy. I'm going to talk about the efficacy of World Trade Organization in developing countries. So I'm going to start with the trade liberalization, where it can mean that the World Trade Organization, it helps to eliminate the barriers or the tariffs of trade. For example, the tariffs, the embargoes, and the quotas. So this means that it's led to the free flow of goods and services. For example, in Chile and Latin America, they are saying that in Chile it used to be a protectionist state, but due to trade liberalization, Chile is now the strong leader of trade organization. So I'm moving on to the next point, which is accessibility and economic growth. In this thing, you can talk of the AfCFTA, whereby we're saying the African states are now united to have the single markets, whereby African states can trade themselves, like you can say the intra-trade, whereby it's within the continent, the African continent. So due to this thing, it's led to the creation of jobs. It also lead to the bilateral agreements. For example, Kenya is having the bilateral agreements with South Africa, so that they can have the free flow of trade and the goods. Even Zimbabwe is having the multilateral agreement with the Ghana, the Namibia, the Botswana. So due to the World Trade Organization, it also led to the free flow of goods and the exchange of goods. So I'm moving on to the third sector, the third point, which is now the non-discrimination. It's whereby we can say the World Trade Organization, under the national treatment, the three national treatment, it says that this all countries have the similar goals, they are all equal. There's no country which is supposed to discriminate other countries' goals. For example, I can say that this rule was being adopted by Zimbabwe as the national rule. Under the Labour Act of Zimbabwe, Section 28, subsection 5, it says that there's an employer is not allowed to discriminate the employee, or the disabled are supposed to work also. So this is the efficacy of World Trade Organization. So I'm moving on to the gender equality, especially the women participation. In the case of Zimbabwe, the Kai district, they say that the people in the Kai district, like the women, are the one who are having the top role of agriculture sector. They are having their farms, they are doing the intra-trade, they are exporting and importing goods. So this is the efficacy of World Trade Organization. So I'm moving on to trade dispute settlements, which means that the World Trade Organization had to have 4 types of trade disputes. The first type is negotiation. The second is attribution. Third one is mediation, and the fourth one is the courts. It means that if you are having the international trade dispute, the World Trade Organization had this solution so that you can negotiate and move on with the trade agreements. So this is why the World Trade Organization efficacy. For example, this is successful in South Africa and Egypt, and even Malaysia, pertaining the disputes, like the trade dispute settlement. Thank you.
It provides a platform for negotiation, dispute settlement, and capacity building. Concern remains regarding its approach decision-making process. Achieving equal trade requires continuous efforts to address this challenge and ensure that the benefits of global trade are shared more equitable among all nations. So the World Trade Organization operates the global system of the trade route, and they help developing countries building their trade capacity. It is also provides a forum for its members to negotiate trade agreement and to resolve the trade problem they are facing with each other. Thank you so much.
Okay, so far so good. We've had the background, we've had the successes. Now, going to the however part, to see its failures as an organization in developing countries, to see whether they are helping us. For example, we are Zimbabwe and we're part of the developing countries. So we hear the failures from Bimbai Mutefa.
And I'll be presenting about the criticism of World Trade Organization, or the negative impact of World Trade Organization. So the World Trade Organization is meant to uphold or promote free trade amongst states, and it is also committed to improve free trade amongst its member countries. However, its role has been controversial. So there are some criticisms that has been put forward about the operation of the World Trade Organization. So the first criticism is the World Trade Organization. In the World Trade Organization, there's free trade benefits of the World Trade Organization. They are benefiting more to developed countries than developing countries, in a way that it is argued developing countries need some trade protection to be able to develop new industries, whereas some developed countries, they already have some industries to develop. So in a way, this is underdeveloping developing countries. Secondly, there is an issue of the most favored nation principle. So this is a core tenet of World Trade Organization, which rules the factor of trade between developed and developing countries. So it says countries should trade without discrimination. It means a local firm is not allowed to favor local contractors. It is argued that this gives an unfair advantage to multinational companies and can have cost for local firms and the right of developing economies to favor their own emerging industries. Thirdly, another criticism for World Trade Organization's operation, there is failure to reduce tariffs on agriculture. So free trade is not equally sought across different industries. Both the US and the UN retain high tariffs on agriculture. So this hurts farmers in developing economies who face tariff protection, in a way that Africa is well known of producing agricultural goods, and then they export the goods to European countries. But then these farmers are facing high taxes or high tariffs in their trading, hence not promoting development on their side, but then on the developed side. Then there is also diversification. Arguably, developing countries who specialized in primary products need to diversify into other sectors. And then there is also environment. The World Trade Organization, in the World Trade Organization, free trade is often ignored environmental consideration. It enabled imports to be made from countries with the least environmental protection.
Well, every failure needs a solution. So we came up with recommendations on what World Trade Organization is supposed to do in order to improve their efficacy in trade in developing countries. And this is going to be given by Libet.
So looking at the World Trade Organization, it is an important organization to many African states and other developing states. So promoting trade in developing countries is a key objective for the World Trade Organization, and therefore I am going to be looking at some recommendations on how the World Trade Organization can support and enhance trade in developing countries. So firstly, we are going to look at the special and differential treatment, the S&D provisions. The S&D provisions should be effectively implemented to address specific challenges faced by developing countries, including providing technical assistance, capacity building, and financial support to enhance their trade-related infrastructure, institution capacity, and regulatory frameworks. The second point is market access. There should be facilitation of improved market access for the developing countries. This is by reducing trade barriers as well, and elimination of non-tariff measures that disproportionately affect their exports. And this can be achieved through a meaningful tariff reduction, simplifying customer procedures, and addressing trade restrictions. And also, this can help not to hinder the participation of African states in global value chains. Another point is agriculture. Addressing imbalances in agricultural trade by reducing trade distorting agricultural subsides in developing countries. So this would create a more level playing field of African countries, allowing them to compete and export agricultural products. And this also gives a special safeguard and mechanisms that can be implemented and put in place to protect the food security and livelihoods of small-scale farmers in developing countries. So another point is that the intellectual property rights provisions can strike a balance between protecting innovation and promoting access to affordable medicines, technology transfer, and knowledge disseminations. Therefore, these recommendations aim to enhance the trade capabilities and opportunities for developing countries, particularly African nations, and to promote more inclusive and equitable trade outcomes. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you for watching. This is the end of our mini discussion. I hope you enjoyed and benefited something from this. So please subscribe, comment, share, like, and yeah, thank you. And thank you to all the speakers.